Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and we're a little bit over a week since we came back from the Blade Show, so it's time to take a look at least some of the really cool customs and high-end knives that we brought back for you folks. Let's check them out. All right, so word of warning to everyone out here, this is definitely going to be an expensive video. There's a lot of high dollar items we're featuring today. If you want to know about some of the less expensive items that showed up at Blade Show, check out our Knife AQ from over the weekend, where I kind of talk about some of the, I give you my top 5 on the production side of things, as well as some other cool Blade Show stuff as well. So I'll point you to that. Make sure you check that out. And really, this is just kind of a show and tell. Like, this is a Knife Geeks geek out space. You know, we get to take a look at these really cool things. Some of these have already been purchased, actually. I think as we're filming this, I got word that, oh hey, that one is bought. I still wanted to show you people these fine knives, so keep that in mind. But we'll leave a link to our whole Blade Show selection down below. We're still updating and adding new stuff from the show because, you know, manpower being what it is, there's a lot of cool stuff to show off. But let's nerd out together here on some cool things. And the first one is going to be the most expensive one here today, coming in at a cool $11,000. The ProTech Malibu that won the Blade Show Investor Collector Award of the Year, and actually the exact one. They made 10 of these. The other 9 sold at the show. This particular one is the exact one they submitted for the awards ceremony, and we were able to pick this up on Sunday. And in fact, we even have, to whoever the lucky person that buys it, the plaque that they featured, or the plaque that was sitting next to the knife in the judgment case. So that's a not an expensive item, but that's a one-of-a-kind item that's going to go along with this nice piece of history right here. And this is just one of those drool-worthy pieces. You did see it in our ProTech interview that we posted. This one's number 2 of 10. We've got a Nichols Damascus, his mind meld pattern, but the star of the show, though, the inlays flanked by all this engraving. Just every square surface is absolutely adorned, just amazingly. I can't even say how good it is. Bruce Shaw is the master engraver here, and you can see he's actually got his signature right there on the inside. Very subtle. But this whole project, these 10 knives, took a couple years to produce, a couple years in the making, and then they just blew out of the gate at Blade Show with this. Ooh, yeah, I can't say too many nice things about this knife. It is definitely a pricey piece, but a piece of history, and for something that's going to win Investor Collector Award of the Year, probably something that's going to appreciate in value with time as well. All right, next up is a special Chris Reeve Sebenza that we managed to pick up. One of a kind here. It is a MagnaCut steel blade, which of course was the talk of the town at Blade Show this year. You've got the high toughness and edge retention of some of the non-stainless powder metallurgy steels out there. So you've got a really durable blade, but you've also got stainlessness as well, which is kind of a first of its kind, wrapping all those elements together in one. And of course, being made by Chris Reeve, the precision is just impeccable. It's spot on. This particular one, I think we were selling for about $6K, but this one is actually on layaway as of this morning. So just another word of note to you guys out there. If some of these things are a little bit beyond your reach, but you still really feel compelled, we do offer a layaway program on some of our higher priced items. And you can just call in to our customer service line for that. But the handle here, we've got a marbled copper carbon fiber with a raindrop Damascus inlay on the front. Very cool looking, and that marbled copper on the back as well. Just a really phenomenal look, and definitely a one-of-a-kind look for a Sebenza. You don't see stuff like this too often from the Chris Reeve folks. And man, another fantastic piece. Probably these first 3 folders that I'm going to show you are my favorite folders that we picked up from the show, at least my favorite ones that I've seen so far. I still haven't even seen everything we picked up. This next one, though, might be the one that, if money were no object for me, I would probably pick this guy up. Custom Ken Onion Stylus. We did have the CRKT put out a budget version of these knives for about 70 bucks recently. They do a really good job. Those are fine knives, but man, nothing beats the original. And this guy is phenomenal. Cost on this about $16.50, and the precision is, again, I'm going to use that word a lot today, impeccable. As far as those executive style gentleman's knives go, this has got to be near the top. Really nice faceted look here on the front, carried through onto the back. Check out the lock bar release here. It's technically an inset liner lock, but you get a little bit of steel, or sorry, titanium here on the outside. It has a really tight join up with the rest of the handle. Look how fine that line is there. And then of course the milling lines going along with it are just perfect as well. We've got a really cool milled titanium pocket clip there with a nice mosaic pattern. Ball bearings in the pivot. Really excellent little flipper. RWL 34 blade. That hand rubbed finish, just phenomenal. All right, this next custom probably has maybe the most cool factor on the table, and I'll get to why in a second. This is the matte Diskin wheel, coming in a bit over $1,200 right now. Blade itself, 3 3/4 mirror polished M390, which is very nice. I mean, M390, it takes a little bit to get a fine mirror polished like this, so it's really cool to see for one thing. Really nice detailing on the handle. We've got titanium, carbon fiber inlays on top of, I think it's steel. So you've got multiple layers here. It does create a pretty substantial grip. If you were gonna use a knife like this hard, you've got that grip to go with it. On the back, carbon fiber backspacer with some crenellations and some really cool milling here on the thumb ramp area, or yeah, milling, I would say, kind of a diamond pattern there. Really nice. The lock is an inset liner lock, and it is smooth. You've got that drop shut, as you can see. Really smooth on the open with that thumb hole. But this is actually a dual action automatic knife. I know, right? It has that nice, smooth, manual liner lock action when you want it, but when you want to really fire that blade out, the front section of this bolster actually pushes towards the spine, and then when you do that, really aggressive automatic opening action. Very nice indeed. Really rockets that blade out. And if you're not ready for it the first time, you might be afraid it might jump out of your hand when I did it the first time. But thankfully I didn't drop it, which is a relief because now I don't have to buy it either. But just a really, really amazing piece right here. All right, next up we got a few Paysan 2.0s from Peter Rassenti, his integral knife. This guy comes in $2,500 right now. Really nice blade shape. You can see why Spyderco is interested in this particular design. He does in fact license the opening hole from Spyderco right there. Nice integral titanium, a little bit on the blockier side, but small enough where it's not an uncomfortable facet of the knife. Blade here is Damasteel, really nice pattern going on, really good performance from that powder construction as well. And you've got a zirconium bolster, or a zirconium pivot ring here as well. It's just some really nice little details. The way he puts everything together is world class, which is why he's able to command the prices that these do. Just, man, for one of those small, classier folders that still has a bigger, chunkier blade where you can really feel like you're going to be able to put some good work in. Really nice. Really, really nice. I don't know what else to say. I apologize if I say the word nice and impeccable too much in this video. Maybe I'll get my thesaurus out. Think of some other words, perhaps. All right, next up is a mid-tech. Much more affordable than the stuff we've been looking at so far. This guy comes in at $350. This is the D-Rocket Mid-Tech SpaceXI, or MinimalX. Very cool little knife. Very different, I'd say, as well. Blade itself is about 2 1/4 M390, but you've got essentially 6 grinds on here with a nice big fuller running on both sides as well. Sharpened on the leading edge as well, so it's kind of a Tanto, but very different looking Tanto than most of the things out there. M390, if I didn't mention that, and the handles are titanium, and it is a nice compact flipper. You can see, kind of folds up square. The blade's completely hidden, just a subtle flipper tab peeking out around the pivot area. Deep carry pocket clip as well, so it's going to carry nice and easy. And then you flip that open. Really cool. Now, one of the cool things about the milled slot here on the front side of the handle, which the handle is contoured by the way, which is quite nice, is that slot gives you a little bit of an area to kind of grab onto when you're flipping. For instance, my thumb fits in there quite nicely as I'm going for that, and it allows you to have something to kind of hold onto without putting pressure on the lock bar itself, which can sometimes kind of impact the opening action. But that's not so on this particular case. Very cool knife, and using my thesaurus over here, I'd say it is enjoyable. All right, next up, this particular knife is kind of interesting. It kind of pulls together a lot of disparate design elements from, I'd say, around the world probably into this particular knife. This is the SoCal, or Foster SoCal Custom Jelly front flipper. Comes in about $1,200 right now. Blade shape is rather interesting. You've got kind of this almost an upswept Skinner style of blade, but in a way, it's kind of reminding me a little bit of an old school sodbuster as well. You know, you don't have the more or less straight spine here, but you do have kind of a very similar edge profile itself with all this belly out here near the front. Maybe my mind's on sodbusters a little bit since Ethan Becker was talking about his BK40 folder being inspired by those a little bit. But I see a bit of that here, 3.5 inches, CPM 154, and going back to the handle, influence there kind of reminds me of some of the Italian knives out there with this dropped spine, or this dropped beak at the back of the handle here. Works really well together. Now you've got a stone-washed finish on that titanium to match up with that acid-washed finish on the blade. Close it up. No maker's mark on the front, but that's because you'll find Foster there on the spine itself. Very subtle. It doesn't jump out at all. Again, one of those things very easy to miss if you're not looking for it, which is a good thing, honestly. Now, you do have a frame lock here, which is quite nice, but again, in a nod to kind of that maybe classic slip joint pattern, in addition to the front flipper that you have, there's also this milled slot here out near the front, which you could kind of think of as a modern version of a nail nick. So very easy to open two-handed, very intuitive to open it that way. Or you can do the front flipping thing. And as for me, I'm a little better at doing the slow roll on it. I'm not quite getting the flick open, but very easy to do even with that slow roll. But overall, just really nice. Or sorry, to use my thesaurus here, we'll say this one is satisfying. All right, next up, another mid-tech. This is from Serge Panchenko, some of his mid-tech beams. This guy coming in at $325 with the harpoon blade shape on this particular guy. This has always been just a really cool non-locking knife. Still the same case here. You've got the detent joint with the detent ball there on the back. Now it actually has a pretty decent detent going there. Like, it takes a little bit more to close than some of the other detent joint knives I've seen out there, which could be a good thing from the safety side of things. Blade itself, just over 2 inches, about 2 1/8, CPM 154, nice stone-washed finish, and really cool on that particular blade shape. Now, do be careful if you're putting your middle or index finger out there behind the harpoon point, but it'd be a nice place to choke up doing some detail work with the tip of that knife, which is going to work pretty well. Got a nice pocket clip there on the back, simple folded style for carry, and G10 orange inlay on the front of the stone-washed titanium. A couple of different options we picked up. We've got ones without that inlay as well for a little bit less money. As far as opening this knife, you can see we've got this nice tab sticking up here on the front. Again, kind of a slow roll action here because you're not really going to be able to get to that thumb hole from the front of this guy. And just to borrow another word from my thesaurus, I think this guy is just delightful. All right, next up, we've got some custom Emerson balisongs. This is the Bali-Dragon buoy, coming in about $2,000, and these guys hand ground by Ernest Emerson himself, which doesn't do too much of these days and typically commands a lot higher demand because of it. And really cool shape here. You got that awesome blade shape with the Emerson wave opener here at the top, but you're not actually going to be able to wave this open because it's there just more for decorative purposes and branding purposes in this case. But it definitely creates a much cooler blade shape than a lot of other balisongs out there, which tend to have some pretty cool blade shapes to start with. Now we've got a few different handle options available. This one is one of the Richlight options, which is kind of like paper micarta, has a really cool feel and really nice latch on the bottom as well. You've got some really nice detailing around the edge, some nice jimping going on the titanium liners. Kind of classic Emerson styling on those titanium liners. The insides themselves are satin finished. Nice pocket clip here. And I'd say the action is pretty smooth. Not quite as free-flowing as some of the ball bearing ones out there, but there's just a feeling of rigidity in here that I really appreciate. And of course, with that pocket clip, would also make a decent option for your EDC carry as well if you wanted a real fancy battle song to carry around. I'd just say, check my thesaurus beforehand. This guy, definitely engaging. All right, for this next one, I'm not really gonna need my thesaurus because a couple words come to mind immediately: robust and over the top. Both in a good way for sure. The Alphahunter Custom Dark Gladiator Apocalypse Finish folder coming in about $1,100. For that, you're getting this massive Tonto blade here, acid washed M390, about almost 4 inches of it. And these guys were Blade Show exclusives, serialized here on the back. This one's number 9 out of 10. Definitely a lot of meat on that blade and a lot of meat on the titanium handles here as well. Aggressive milling on the front, so there is a ton of traction there. We do have that frame lock, nice drop shut action. And in terms of opening this guy, not a flipper, you're essentially going to use that fuller as a thumb opener. Works really nicely. Now, in a way, you could actually think of this knife as a bit of a bargain compared to the prices you see on some of these other knives. This is kind of in line, but you're getting a lot more materials-wise on this particular knife. I don't think I'll ever describe an $1,100 knife as a bargain again, but hey, there you go. Now we're on to some fixed blades that I was able to pick up for us here at the Knife Center. Really happy to be bringing on Fiddleback Forge and Big Chris Custom Knives into the Knife Center family. I've been looking forward to doing that for a while. Showed you a couple pieces on that Knife AQ over the weekend, but I'm gonna start with a couple of the Fiddlebacks I brought. And this particular hiking buddy right here is, I need to get this away from my desk because the longer it sits near my desk, the more likely I'm gonna be to pick this up. Because I think this knife is just about perfect. Ever since Andy Roy kind of scaled back Fiddleback and he's doing everything solo again, the knives he's been turning out have been the best he's ever done. These are just phenomenal. Now we've got the drop point blade here, a little bit over 3 inches with a simple carbon steel Damascus, but the handles themselves have always been the star of the show with Andy's designs because he's kind of a master of knowing exactly how much and what to remove to get a truly comfortable knife. And these look great too with this desert ironwood, tapered tang here on the back with natural micarta and white G10 liners. Of course, his signature bullseye lanyard tube. You've got micarta in the center layer there. Interesting pin pattern going with that single white beauty mark there on the G10 with natural micarta to kind of blend into the desert ironwood with the others. I don't know how many good things I can say about this knife because it's just one of those things. It might not jump off the table amongst some of the other things he brought, but it's one of those things that you just have it in the hand, cannot deny this particular knife. So please, someone out there, buy this for me. Or no, don't buy it for me, buy it for yourself, but buy it so I don't have to buy it because this is truly, truly spectacular. And actually, when we're talking about bargains out there, I think just about $465, $475 in that range for this handmade, fully custom knife. I'd say that's actually a very good bargain. Next up, one more of Andy's knives. This is a one-off Canadian. Really cool pattern here as well. About that 3-inch length on the blade. W2 in this case, forged with a Hamon. And again, tapered tang on the back with actually similar liner colors. But again, the handles are just fantastic. Curly ash dyed green. Nice spearmint G10 bolster dovetailed into the back there. Again, just the more you look at these knives, the more you appreciate them, the more you realize just how next level his knives are getting. And to quote my thesaurus on this one, definitely a charming piece right here. Coming in, price just about $500. All right, next up, we've got a couple knives from Big Chris. None of his MagnaCut knives on this particular video, but we do have a couple drop point hunters in MagnaCut from him. Again, you saw that on the Knife AQ video. But the first one I'll show you today is his Voyager, which is a really cool knife that was actually kind of designed along with the members of his forum on the over there on Blade forums a number of years ago. Kind of crowdsourced the specs, and he came up with a knife that fit what we were all looking for. And this particular one, you've got about a 6-inch blade, just over 4V steel, so very tough. Also very good edge retention as well with that high flat grind. So you've got a good amount of slicing capability as well as enough thickness there where you can do some of that batoning and splitting that a quote unquote survival knife would need to do. Because I don't know if I mentioned it, this was a survival knife designed with the forearm. You've also got enough drop here to the edge to give yourself a little bit of a finger guard, but that edge, sharpened edge itself comes almost all the way back, so you're not sacrificing anything there. And Big Chris is another guy who really gets handle contours correct, or gets them so comfortable for a wide variety of different hand shapes. Being a survival knife, you get a couple of lanyard tubes there, get a nice tapered tang to kind of balance out the weight of the blade a little bit. And on this particular one, we've got a Sure Touch G10, which is a camo pattern, but the black layers are actually rubber. So you get kind of the best parts of a rubber handle without the worst parts of a rubber handle. Best parts being you get a little bit of shock absorption, you get extra grip as well, but you counteract the durability problem that some of those rubber materials can have, because it's backed up by the layers of G10. So if you're really hammering on this knife, really abusing this knife, it's gonna stand up a little better than just a typical rubber handle would. Really cool material. I'm really excited to see this on more knives as we go forward as well. Next up is another 4V knife. This is his Woodcraft with a nice set of bog oak scales with red G10 liners and pins. Really striking look to go along with kind of that natural bog oak material. Blade length on this guy is just over 4 inches. You've got that 4V like I mentioned. Slightly, you could call this a spear point, but what I kind of see here, the way the spine drops, it's a little bit reminiscent of the old school woodlore knives, kind of that Ray Mears classic bushcraft pattern, only here you get it with a high flat grind rather than a Scandi grind. Edges themselves finished really fine. Again, handle comfort. I mean, just look at the cross section of the contours there. Looks fantastic, feels even better in the hand. Now, one of the cool things about Big Chris's knives are the kydex as well. Really nicely finished. You've got some individually finished edges, individually rolled edges there on the edges. So you have a really cool look there. You don't really see that too often because it's much easier for folks to put kydex together and just run the edges, the finished edges along a buffing wheel or a grinder to even things out. This takes a lot more precision to get these two sides perfectly mated up like this. Also, most of his kydex sheaths are going to kind of coordinate with the handle material. This is the Woodcraft sheath right there. Whole pattern on these will fit the large tech lock as well for both of these knives. And last but not least, we brought back some kitchen knives and some companion knives from Dogwood Custom Knives in that very nice MagnaCut steel. I'm going to show you the kitchen knife here first. This is the Westoku. Kind of blends the Eastern and Western influences together. And you've got nice 8-inch blade of that MagnaCut steel. Really nicely done. The blade itself is about 1/16 of an inch thick. And what he wanted to do with this particular one, with this particular steel, is kind of make it the really heavy-duty workhorse in the kitchen. It's still plenty fine enough to do the finer cuts, but it's going to be even more durable for those really heavy cuts, like cutting through joints, that sort of thing. With this steel and that type of grind, I think it's really going to stand up exceptionally well. And of course, his handles are also very well done. Dan Eastland was actually Andy Roy's first apprentice way back in the day. So Dogwood has been around quite a while at this point, and you can really tell he learned from one of the best, I'd say. Handle on this guy, Tasmanian Blackwood. Really nice curl going on, mosaic pin at the back, black G10 liners. Really well-balanced feel in the hand. Hottest new steel around, coming in, what did I say, about $600 on this guy. So if that's a little bit too much, but you still want to experience a Dogwood or still want to experience that MagnaCut, we've got a couple of his Cubs, which do come with a sheath, but also work really well as a small paring knife. Those guys are coming in about $250. That's about all I've got to show you right now, but like I said, the Blade Show stuff is still being added, still being updated on the website as we're filming this, so there's going to be a lot more to see. Link down below for all of that stuff. But if all these knives were above your budget, I get it, believe me for sure, but stick around for our new Knives of the Week video later this week. We'll have some more affordable options for you to take a look at. Make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program while you're over there, because if you're going to spend a big chunk of change on these knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next knife. I'm David C. Anderson from the KnifeCenter signing off. See you next time.